Before you trim a single branch in your garden this week, stop. Look closer. Hidden inside that hedge, that shrub, that small tree by your fence, there may be a nest. And every spring, thousands of them are destroyed by garden shears in a single careless second. Here's what almost nobody realizes. That robin didn't end up in your garden by accident. She rejected an entire forest to be there. She studied your yard. She watched your routine. And then she chose you. What she's offering in return is something no exterminator can match. And removing that nest, that might be breaking federal law. Let's start with the question that bothers everyone. Why your garden? Robins have an entire forest available. Millions of trees, endless branches, perfect cover, and yet, every spring, they build right where you live. In the hedge you walk past daily, in the crook of your apple tree, in the climbing rows beside your patio. It looks careless. In truth, it's anything but. A robin's nest has a brutal survival problem. Crows raid it, blue jays raid it, snakes climb to it, raccoons tear it apart at night. In open woodland, fewer than half of all robin nests survive long enough for the chicks to fly, fewer than half. So somewhere along the way, robins discovered a loophole. Predators are terrified of you. A crow will think twice about a hedge 10 feet from your lawnmower. A raccoon avoids the corner where your garden lights come on. A snake stays away from the path that vibrates with your footsteps every single morning. Your daily routine, the mowing, the watering, the door slamming. The dog in the yard creates an invisible security perimeter that no predator wants to test. The robin noticed. Researchers call this pattern human shielding, and it's been documented across the animal world. Birds that nest closer to active human structures consistently lose fewer eggs and fewer chicks than birds that hide in the safe quiet of the woods. So when a robin builds in your garden, she isn't being reckless. She's hiring a bodyguard. You work for free. You work every day. And you don't even know you've been employed. But here's the thing about this arrangement. Protection like this isn't free, she pays rent. And once you see what that payment looks like, you'll never look at your lawn the same way again. A robin on your lawn for 10 minutes. Head tilted, frozen, then a sudden stab into the grass. Most people think she's listening for worms. She's actually watching for them. Robins hunt primarily by sight, detecting the tiny movements of soil at the tunnel entrance. Now here's where the numbers get hard to believe. A single robin can eat up to 14 feet of earthworms in one day. Not 14 worms, 14 feet. Laid end to end, that's a line taller than your ceiling every single day. But worms are just the appetizer. The moment her eggs hatch, everything changes. Suddenly, she has for screaming mouths that need protein, and they need it constantly. Baby robins can eat close to their own body weight every day. A nest of 4 chicks demands feeding runs from sunrise to sunset, 100 trips or more every day for roughly 2 weeks. And what's she carrying on those trips? Cutworms, the caterpillars that slice through your seedlings at the soil line. Beetle grubs, including the larvae of Japanese beetles, the ones that skeletonize your roses every July and destroy your lawn from underneath. Caterpillars, weevils, crane fly larvae, bugs, click beetles, the exact pests you pay money to fight. Add it up. 2 hunting parents, 100+ feeding trips a day, multiple insects per trip. Plus, everything the adults eat themselves just to keep flying. By the time one robin family finishes a single brood, the invertebrates removed from your property number in the thousands. Across a nesting season, and robins often raise 2 or even 3 broods. That little mud cup hidden in your hedge quietly directs the removal of an astonishing amount of pest life. Easily 1,000 a day at the peak of feeding. No chemicals, no fees, no appointment window. And unlike a spray, this control is surgical. She targets the lawn destroyers and leaf eaters, while your pollinators go mostly untouched. This is the deal you signed without knowing it? Your noise? keeps her chicks alive. Her hunger keeps your garden alive. People, knock the nest down because it looks messy. They're firing the best employee they've ever had. But to really understand what you'd be destroying, you need to look at the nest itself, because that pile of mess is one of the most sophisticated structures in your neighborhood. A few steps away, it looks like a clump of dead grass wedged in the branches. Step in close. Though that nest took the female robin around a week of non-stop labor, hundreds of trips, and she built it in 3 deliberate layers, like a contractor following blueprints. The outer wall comes first. Twigs, coarse grass, sometimes string or paper she found in your yard. This is the frame, the load-bearing structure. Then comes the part that separates robins from almost every other backyard bird. Mud. She flies to the nearest puddle, ditch, or worm casting and carries it back, beakful by beakful. Then she climbs inside the half-built nest and does something remarkable. Her own body becomes the mold. She presses her chest against the wet mud and spins, slowly turning her whole body in circles, sculpting the walls around herself like a potter shaping clay on a wheel. The result is a perfect cup, curved to her exact dimensions. When the mud dries, it hardens into something closer to ceramic than to a pile of sticks. Finally, the lining. Fine, soft grass, a mattress laid over the hardened shell, so the eggs never touch cold mud. Frame, concrete, insulation. She built a house the same way we do, and she did it with no hands. Here's a detail that surprises people even more. The male barely helps. He may carry some material, but the design, the mud work, the shaping, that's all her. She builds alone. She shapes alone. She decides alone. Now, that hardened shell explains something you may have wondered about. Why does the nest survive storms that strip leaves off the tree around it? Because it isn't just resting on that branch. It's practically cemented to it. The wet mud flows into the fork of the branch and bonds as it dries. That's why she picks the sturdy crook of a small tree, the dense heart of a hedge, a thick horizontal limb, Anchors the wind can't easily shake. Your garden isn't just safer. It's structurally better than the deep woods. One more thing before we move on. If you touch the nest, will she abandon it? No, that's a myth. Robins have a poor sense of smell. She won't detect your scent, and she won't abandon her eggs over it. She is far more likely to leave because of repeated disturbance than a single touch. Which brings us to the eggs themselves, because they're hiding a mystery of their own. Why? Are they that impossible shade of blue? The color is so distinctive, we named a paint after it. A crayon, even a jewelry brand built its identity on it. But nobody stops to ask the obvious question, why blue? Think about it. A camouflaged egg should be brown, speckled, invisible. Instead, robins lay eggs the color of a swimming pool, practically glowing against the dark mud cup. For decades, this puzzled scientists. The pigment is called biliverdin, and the female deposits it on the shell in the final hours before laying. Producing it costs her energy at the exact moment she can least afford it. So the color isn't an accident. It's expensive. And in nature, expensive things always have a purpose. The leading explanation is sunscreen. Eggshell needs to do two opposite jobs at once. Let enough warmth in to incubate the embryo, but block the ultraviolet radiation that can damage it. To pale, and UV light penetrates. To dark, and the egg overheats in direct sun. That specific blue sits in the sweet spot. A tuned filter. Enough light, not too much heat. The shell is a climate control system, engineered in pigment. There may be a second layer too. Some researchers found that males feed chicks more when the eggs they hatched from were more vividly blue, as if the color advertises the female's health. A brighter shell may be a signal. These chicks are worth your effort. Now, the moment that sends people into a panic. You find half a blue eggshell lying on your lawn. Clean, empty, far from the nest. Most people assume the worst. A raid, a predator, a tragedy. Usually, It's the opposite. It's a birth announcement. When a chick hatches, the mother immediately picks up the broken shell, flies away from the nest, and drops it at a distance. Sometimes she eats part of it to recover calcium. Why carry it away? Because that bright blue interior is a beacon, a signal flare telling every crow in the area exactly where the babies are. So she removes the evidence. A shell on your lawn doesn't mean something. It means something hatched, and a very careful mother is covering her tracks. For the next 13 days or so, those chicks will transform from blind, naked, thumb-sized creatures into fully feathered birds. And during those 13 days, there's one thing you absolutely must not do. Here's the part of this story that genuinely shocks people. That nest in your garden isn't just protected by instinct and mud. It's protected by federal law. The Migratory Bird Treaty Act, passed in 1918, makes it illegal to destroy an active nest of a protected native bird. Robins are on that list. Active means there are eggs or chicks inside. Knock down an occupied robin nest, and you haven't just done something unkind. You've technically committed a federal offense. Over a century ago, America was losing its birds at a staggering rate, hunted for feathers, for food, for sport. This law was the emergency brake, and it still stands today, quietly protecting the nest hidden in your hedge. So what should you actually do? First, wait. The entire cycle is shorter than people think. Roughly 2 weeks of incubation. Roughly 2 weeks of chicks in the nest. About a month start to finish. The mess, the droppings, the noise, all of it is temporary. Second, keep your distance, but don't tiptoe. Remember, your normal routine is the reason she chose you. The mowing, the watering, the footsteps on the path, that's the security system. Just avoid lingering directly at the nest and hold off on trimming that hedge or pruning that corner for a few weeks. The haircut can wait. The chicks can't. Third, and this is the part almost nobody knows, once the chicks fledge and the nest sits empty, you can remove it, and you should, because here's the final myth to bust. Robins almost never reuse a nest. Old ones collect mites and parasites. For her second brood, she builds fresh, often just a few feet away. Clearing the empty cup doesn't hurt her at all. She's already moved onto new construction. So the deal looks like this. She gets 1 month of protection inside your garden. You get an entire season of pest control across your property and a front row seat to one of the most compressed, dramatic life stories in North America, playing out a few steps from your back door. 1 month of patience, thousands of pests removed, a federal law honored instead of broken. That clump of grass in your hedge isn't a nuisance. It's a contract, written in mud, signed the day she chose your garden over every tree in the forest. All she's asking is that you hold up your end. OUTRO 50 words next time you see that flash of orange on your lawn. Remember, she's not just visiting, she's working for you. If this changed how you see that nest in your garden, share it with someone about to trim their hedge. And subscribe. Your backyard is full of secrets like this.